All right. Well, continuing to talk about the DCC game using Lost Mine of Phandelver and Dragon of Icespire Peak, exploring those dwarven ruins took a while. Clearing them out, lots and lots of zombies, lots and lots of skeletons, some pretty brutal fights. A couple of people got taken out, and that, especially the Dragon Lich, was extremely powerful, and a couple of guys went toe to toe with it and didn't do so well. But the Dragon Lich escaped, saw that things weren't going as well at this place, and is like, whatever. It's it got what it needed in this place, so it's off lurking in another spot for the PCs to eventually root out. Maybe they did find a bunch of interesting items. I went through a couple of Gong Farmer issues and a couple of other books, some of the books with the random charts, and I really did up some strange artifacts and things for them to have found in here. Stuff like there was a healing potion that had where I used some interesting stuff to some of the charts to find that it was a 3 doses. It was held in a wooden gourd type thing, as the vial that it was in was a gourd, and when you drink it, it's hot, and the liquid is clear. So found that. That not super exciting, but I liked doing the little details, just the little odd things about them, because there's a couple of them that I think are a little strange. One comes in a conical bone vial. That was a perfect. You get perfect shot for a day. There's an anti-magic aura one. That came in a leather pouch. I don't know if that's like more of a powder or something. Yeah. And then I also tried to find a couple of artifacts and stuff. Because I like to be a little free with game breaking stuff. I think that's part of the fun of Dungeon Crawl Classics, is to throw in strange and game breaking artifacts, game breaking items, game breaking magic, because you want to break it. You want to have fun. You want to see what strange uses things will be put to. So I think specifically about an artifact that to me is perfectly encapsulated here, and I always mean to throw it in, and I just haven't yet in any of the games that I've run, is the portable hole. It's like essentially a piece of felt that you roll out and it becomes a hole, and you could just put whatever inside of it, and then it's in the hole, and you roll it up like a piece of felt again, put it in your pocket. Now that thing is being carried in this little pocket dimension. And how you might use the portable hole in like the weirdest possible ways, that is great. That is peak DCC to me. I know Matt Colville, I feel like I had seen people do this kind of thing before, but I remember Colville talking about giving a portable hole to his group, and they were stuck on one side of a iron bar door, and they ended up climbing into the portable hole, and then the person on the other side like pulled it through, put it on the wall, and they all climbed out. And that's perfect. That's perfect. That's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And some of the items that I throw out there, I had in the previous game that I ran, I remember I had a sword. The idea was it was a sword made from a meteorite, and when it hit, it gave like a blast of cold damage. The idea was like it was taking the essence of space and the abyss, and it was freezing when it hit. It's kind of, I just thought that was a neat little idea. That's not super exciting. It's cool. It's a bonus. It's a little extra bit of damage that's always handy, especially when you're at a low level. But it's not like game breaking. It's not really wild. But I wanted to find some artifacts that were really strange. So that's why I like some of the potions that do odd things. Like one that was deep vision, where you can see through walls and solid objects for D6 rounds. Okay, that's kind of cool. What are some of the other ones here? Just a fancy hat. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, strange books with magic in them. I feel like I had something artifact-wise that was a little more bizarre, because I did try to go in and actually. Veil of Darkness. Oh, that's got a spell on it. A vial of sunlight blinds all in a 60-foot radius. Undead take 3d8 damage. Okay, that's cool. But anyway, how you use that is up to the player, and I love that, and where it comes in, when they decide to use a potion or when they decide to use a magic item. Again, I keep thinking back to the previous game where I had one of the characters had gotten hit with some goo in a dungeon, and I used Mutant Crawl Classics to give them a random mutation. And the random mutation they ended up getting was actually Lightning Strike. So this now mutant character in DCC ends up taking out one of the big bad guys with this mega Lightning Strike at one point. I love, and that was a big bad guy that could have been a big trouble for the whole group. One Lightning Strike, done. And that's the kind of game-breaking stuff that I'm talking about, that I want to have. And it's why I hope at some point that I can run Expedition to the Barrier Peak with some DCC stuff, because I love the idea of putting ray guns and police robots into the hands of the players to do with what they will. I'm good with that. I'm good with having one of the characters in the party having a ray gun. Yeah, it's super powerful. Yeah, it's going to take out all kinds. Okay, maybe they are a first level character who's able to, not that wouldn't be first level and going to Barrier Peaks, but even so, first level, second level character who has this overpowering thing, great. That's okay. They could still die when who knows what happens. It's so easy to get killed in this game that even if you have these ultra powerful things, you could still die real easy. Anyway, I feel like I'm wandering off point. In the campaign, the next thing that ended up happening was traveling to the Red Brand hideout, where I did, like with some of the other stuff, I modified it a little bit. I always sort of have a problem with, and I feel like D&D is really bad for this, and it always has been, going way back, with putting too many different things in one place that aren't on brand, that aren't thematically correct. So like with the dungeon, the Dwarven Expedition, and then the excavation in the Axholm, removing all the other stuff that wasn't undead dwarves, I think was a good idea. And have it so, I had a variety of undead dwarves. You had ghouls, you had skeletons, you had zombies, but they were all variations of undead dwarves. And that to me is good. It's thematic. It works. And you have a dragon or dinosaur man lich as the big fiend for the level. Great. That works for me. No problem. Had there been a banshee and a troll and a bunch of whatever I can't remember what they're called, but I feel like they use them all the time. They're little winged minions in D&D, and I feel like every level has a chimney full of them, and it's just anyway. Forget those things, but keep it on theme. So the Red Brand's hideout, I had it full of Red Brands because it's their hideout. I didn't need anything else. There's no other critters or anything like that. The only thing I did keep is the Nothic down in the little pit, and I tried to make him fun. In fact, he was probably the most fun out of any of the characters that I played in this campaign. any of the ones that I did. I did a voice, and I know that the voice isn't super important, but it helped really get me into the mindset for it. And I had real fun playing, and I was like, oh, I want to come back to this, but then we didn't end up really getting a chance to do that. But it was a pretty pitched battle to go in, and I saw somebody recommended simplifying the map a little bit. And the only thing I really did to simplify the map is I cut this doorway out. I got rid of that so that it really focused the players into going into the dungeon and having to work their way back to this if they wanted to. So, and that's sort of what they did. They came down here and ended up, I modified this encounter a little bit more to put in more hints at the Black Spider and what was going on. Glassstaff ended up, because of how things played out, Glassstaff was able to easily get away. They made a ton of noise in the outer room that gave Glassstaff plenty of time to escape and get away. So my thought was that Glassstaff has now escaped and gone to be with the Black Spider. I figured I would decide on what they were doing together after this all worked out. Now, it turned out that once this was all cleared out, that was the last session that we had. And you can tell that things went a little weird because everything I've described up to this point was, I think, 9 or 10 sessions. So we really took our time getting to where we got. Session 12 was fighting the Red Brands. So that our last session was session 12. So everything I described up here still took like 12 sessions. So there was a lot going on. Also, it's a friend of mine and I, we chat a lot. We maybe get distracted a lot. Anyhow, clearing this out, it was a pretty pitched battle. A lot of stuff back and forth. I ended up having, when they started fighting in here, an alarm went off. And that brought all the Red Brands from around the hideout to them. But that meant they were showing up sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. So as the fight would be going on, they might be trying to take out a couple of guys here, and then 2 more would come down the stairs. Well, eventually, they really kicked some horrendous amounts of ass. And at one point, I feel like one of the characters just did some crazy, John Wick murder where like somebody got totally pulverized, and the dudes coming in to follow the alarm see this happen, and that was it. It was like kind of a, they come to the top of the staircase, they see all these bodies, a couple of them just totally pulverized at the bottom of the staircase, and they're like, you know what, I don't know what's going on down there, but I'm not getting paid enough for this, and they bolt, and that pretty much routed the Red Brands who would have fled. And the idea I had at that point is maybe a couple of the Red Brands were still hanging out in the area, but probably most of them have just totally fled the area and left this hideout to be taken over by the player characters if they want. That was something put in by the town leadership. They said, hey, clear this out. If you clear it out, it's yours. You take it. We're not going to try to maintain it. And especially because they've already done a couple of solids for the local community, so the local community is perfectly happy to have them, take over this defunct old building. And that's where we left things off. I feel like it was really kind of just getting going, and I think the opportunity for doing a lot of weirder and wilder stuff was coming up. Side plots that I had ready to go that didn't end up getting picked up when they were clearing out the Dwarven underground area, had the idea that there was going to be a storm going on outside, and that when they came out of the place, that there would be orc refugees seeking a place to stay. My idea that they've been driven out of the mountains by, which is in this book, but I had some other details going on into it, but that they'd been driven out by whatever this thing is up in the mountains. The chief had been killed. That was the body that was never discovered because it wasn't investigated. The chief had been killed, and the chief's mate had become chief, and she was leading these refugees to try to find somewhere in the hills to stay low, at which point they found the axe home in the dwarven ruins. And so that would have been some role playing to see, do we fight a bunch of these orc refugees who are kind of like sad, pathetic civilians? They've been, running out of their home and not doing so good, but they'll fight if they have to. Or do we work with the dwarves to find them a place to stay? Do we let them move? That would have been some role playing there, but it just, you always have to roll with the punches when you're running a game, and when things don't feel right, move past them. And that's what ended up happening. It didn't make sense for me to put it in at the time where the opportunity presented itself to put it in. It just didn't make sense at that point. And so I moved them back to the village, and we went on from there to the Red Brands. So from there, there's only really a couple of other big steps in Lost Mine of Phandelver. There's some side things to do, but really even going out and discovering the Green Dragon is really a side quest that oh yeah, he also had a chance to find out about some dragon cultists, but that ended up not happening. So really at that point, if I brought in the dragon cultists, it would have been muddying the water on stuff. So chances are, had we continued, or if we do continue, we would have been doing some more tightly focused, mainlining it right to the Lost Mine and finding out about the spider and taking on Blackstaff and who knows, or Glassstaff, sorry. And honestly, with the spider, especially, there's so little about who the spider is in the book, and so much is left for you to look at. And I got to thinking about the spider as being probably another adventurer who is here to find this thing and has made some alliances. And some of those alliances have turned out well, and some of those alliances have not turned out well. Now, this person's not going to be a good person, but they don't necessarily need to be the enemy. I think Glassstaff is genuinely kind of a scumbag. And so I think that Glassstaff, who is probably working as the Black Spider's right hand, with the idea that at some point he will betray the Black Spider and take everything for himself. I think Glassstaff works really well, particularly as a villain, because he's just seems like a scumbag, and I think would be a really good one to, in this part of the story, to be the real antagonist, or certainly the final boss, I would say, would be taking on Glassstaff. The Black Spider I could see as being possibly that also. They're probably pretty dangerous, but I could also see the Black Spider being either somebody you make a tentative alliance with, or someone you have a mutual respect for, a nod from a distance, and then you both walk off to do your own thing. I could see it going different ways with the Black Spider, because the Black Spider, could be a little ruthless. You could certainly play the Black Spider up as much more just straight up villainous, and I think that. But I think the way I had it was more of a on the edge. Could have been reasoned with. Really just wanted this one thing, and then we'll see. But also could be trying to start a criminal empire. Who knows? Maybe you want to work for a criminal empire. I'm not telling you how to do that. So that probably would have wrapped that story up. Now, the Dragon of Icespire Peak has some other scenarios. A couple of these I feel like I would have probably tried to work in. Some of them not. Some of them I just would not have put in at all. And then I think an eventual idea would be, had they finished here, solved the problem, rescued the dwarf, driven off, killed, or made an alliance with the Black Spider, killed Glassstaff, come out of this looking pretty heroic and tough in the local area, at that point really pushing on to going up and finding this dragon of Icespire Peak, at which point it would have been exploring the mountain, finding the I don't even remember what it's called. I mean, it's like White Plume. It's not White Plume Mountain. There's a specific dungeon in here that is the Icespire Hold. Going up, clearing out Icespire Hold, discovering some sort of secret up there, and then discovering what the dragon really is, which was not going to be a dragon, and defeating that, battling it, driving it off, dying in a total party kill, whatever would have ended up happening. Any of those things could have happened because it was going to be a real DCC monster. Really crank things up into the strange. And that probably would have been the wrap-up of the campaign. So, in all honesty, looking at where things were, trimming a lot of stuff down, probably there weren't more than a handful more adventures to actually go to wrap things up. But it didn't happen. Or at least it hasn't happened yet. I don't know. We'll see if it does happen at some point. But I think what I learned from this is that converting stuff over is not going to be super difficult. You go in, sometimes you look at the monsters and you see what's in there. I don't feel like play balance in DCC is a majorly important thing. It's a swingy game where death is always lurking, where you are in over your head frequently, and sometimes the bad guys are in over their head. You might be strong enough to totally devastate a room full of goblins, or you're not. Or that goblin has a magic item and blows up 3 of your characters in the first volley. That's how the game goes. I think about so many times where scenarios have gone well. Like we did Sailors on the Starless Sea, and they had such good luck against the creature in the water. It was ridiculous. Their luck was amazing. And it ended up being so easy for them to get across the water into the place with the beastmen. And that could have gone so easily, could have gone the other direction. That is a total party kill waiting to happen. But they made it through. And so that's how this game can go. Who knows what would happen from them. But anyway, what I learned was that I think converting stuff over is going to be easy. The big thing is giving it the spin. It's taking what is here and making it weirder. Picking stranger monsters. Making your monsters more unique. If you're going to have goblins, make your goblins different. If you're going to have a dragon, make it a fiend. Make it something else. Make it your own. I certainly see that I will probably be using some of the old classic D&D modules, and that's what I'll be planning to do with those. And I find random charts, some of these random chart books that I have, they can really help just throw a few bits of creativity in, making it just a little off. And that's I think, what's important. Anyway, I hope that's not too rambly. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've used Dungeons & Dragons scenarios or other company scenarios, how you've made them fit more with your DCC stuff. What do you think about the DCC mindset? Am I full of crap? Or is it a vibe? Is it more a vibe than it is the rules? And I wonder about that. I feel like it's a vibe. That's what I think. So, yeah, that's enough blathering from me for the day. So take care, and I'll talk to you in the next video.